was hoping you guys wouldn't notice this big oil stain or whatever on my shirt, but I literally cannot think of anything else I would rather wear. And I feel like it's out of frame anyway, so whatever. It was clearly food also because it's like directly from like here to here, so I don't know what it was. Just a little question for you other knitting YouTubers out there. Do you do anything before you hit the film button to kind of like loosen you up and get you like comfortable? Because I find that I have to like literally like move my body in like a really silly way to just like let my brain chill out, and then I found myself saying, gotta do something stupid so this doesn't feel as stupid, gotta do something stupid. I don't know. If you feel like you need a little warm-up kind of thing, if you struggle with that too, might I suggest my little chant and dance suggestion? Hey, for those of you who have no idea what I'm talking about and have no idea who I am, my name is Miko and I am a fiber artist here in Washington, and a queer one at that, and a neurodivergent one at that as well. I have a lot of thoughts on my brain today. It's been a while too. I'm a little behind in my uploading schedule for good reasons. I finished my last shift at my most beloved cafe here in Olympia. I've spent a year there, and I put in, you know, my notice because I'm leaving to move to Port Townsend in 72 hours. So anyway, this week has been quite the roller coaster of like making as much money as I still can while I still have a job, but also like enjoying it, like being sure to take the time to enjoy the stability that I have here while I still have that, and planning for all the new things. Like, it's quite a lot, you know what I mean? Like, you work really hard to, when you move somewhere new, you work really hard to find a new doctor, a new dentist, a new place to take your car to when something breaks down, and new friends, new job, new everything, new dog parks to take your dog to, new restaurants to eat at, you get the picture. And I've lived in Olympia for 6 years and have done that at an embarrassingly slow pace. Like, you know, finding all of my comfortable places. A lot of trial and error, and you know, that's what it's all about. And now that I'm moving, I can appreciate the work that I put into building and finding my community here in Olympia, and I'm just so grateful for all of the paths that I got to cross with others. I got to tell a lot of my customers that on my last days, just, you know, thanking them. A lot of our customers are old too, so like I feel like they may or may not like remember my name, and that's totally fine. It's, you know, I'm a barista, I'm a server, all of those things, and like I never really expect anyone to remember my name, but like you build a rapport with people when you interact with them almost every day, and like it's really fun to get to have some insight into other people's lives, and like hear what they're excited about or hear what they're like pissed off about. And I've been fortunate enough to have had like pretty decent customers. I've worked in other, you know, customer service situations where it was horrible, and yeah, this past year at Traditions, I could probably count on my hand how many like bad interactions I've had with customers. Yeah, so that's like pretty incredible. Yeah, I've got a list of things to talk about to keep my head on straight, because it's been a little over 2 weeks, so there's quite a lot. First of all, I want to say thank you so much. Oh my gosh, thank you so much to all of my new subscribers and followers here on YouTube and on Instagram. It's been amazing, like truly, to get to connect with other makers and other fiber enthusiasts, other artists of different mediums too, mostly fiber, but like I love how it's like what's it called? I was calling it magic earlier, but it's kind of like it feels exponential, you know, like when you find someone who also shares the same interests as you and they follow other people that you haven't heard about yet. I'm basically describing like how Instagram works, so that probably isn't that interesting to anyone. But, you know, I just feel like when you're on your own process of finding what lights you up, on your own, you go at, you know, your own pace, which is a beautiful, perfect pace to go at. But it's really cool when you have these like sprint moments of like finding someone and then they kind of connect you with like another bubble and all that, and so you just feel like your self-discovery or like your like taste journey like expedites, like all of a sudden, like there's this little like oh my god kind of stuff. So does that make sense to anyone? Can anyone else relate to that? I don't know. But yeah, this is why I have a list, because I start talking about things that I didn't mean to talk about, and then my camera dies, and then the podcast is over. So let's get to the list. For those of you who aren't subscribed to my Instagram, it's Miko_makes. That's MIKKO_makes. It's the best place to keep in touch with me and what I'm doing, like on a day-to-day-ish, not really, but basis. More so than on YouTube, but if you like just, you know, the bi-weekly video uploads on YouTube, then great, this is the place to be. Other than that, life updates. Yeah, so my time at my cafe, which I can feel comfortable in sharing. It's New Traditions Cafe in downtown Olympia on 5th Ave. Since I don't work there anymore, I don't feel as nervous about protecting my privacy, and also I just want to like share that cafe with other people. It's a fair trade gift shop and cafe, co-owned, or owned by the same owner. And yeah, I just want to give thanks to the business itself and the beautiful people who keep it running. Downtown Olympia and all of the small businesses there really took a hit. I mean, much like all other small businesses everywhere, but they really took a hit during the pandemic. And they're doing incredible things to stay afloat and survive and keep serving the same community that had been, you know, patrons there since '96, and they're doing live shows and music events to keep that spirit of community alive, and I feel really lucky to have been a part of that. I also got to do a lot of artwork there, which I didn't expect to get to do when I got hired, but the need for it became apparent or available, and I volunteered and basically learned that I have a knack for sign painting, and I love it. It's fun. I really only got to use like chalk pens on a chalkboard painted like sandwich board, and I'll include some footage here so you can see what I'm talking about, but it was such a fun experience. I got to sketch things out, I got to dive into typography a little bit, and get creative with limitations. I feel like limitations can really like encourage some cool skills or sort of like artistic options. If I had every color available to me, then it would be like paralyzing, but I only had like a few, so and like some of the pens worked better than others, so that like reduced my options even more. But anyway, yeah, here's some footage of it. Special thanks to Julie and that was weird. Julie and Dina and Marcia, who were some of my customers that came in. Julie in particular, she is a retired sign painter, and she painted signs during, like, I think, during the 60s, the 70s, the 80s, and she gave me, because she admired my sandwich boards, and menus and such, she gave me some books because she had way too many of them and wanted them to go to someone who would use them, and so I feel really grateful for that. You know, they kind of went over the basics of like, this is effective when you lay out the words this way, this isn't. I don't really know what I'm trying to show you, but anyway, I am really grateful that she took an interest in my work and wanted to help me out. Yeah, so I'm going to be taking these with me. And I just feel so lucky to be incorporating them into my library and knowing exactly who they came from and knowing that she used them herself. Oh. That she used, oh my gosh, I can't fit this. She used them herself as references for when she did sign painting. Oh my gosh. You know? And, yeah. Some of them even, oh my god. Some of them have, like, natural imagery and woodcut sort of techniques to incorporate in different types of signs. So like you have painted signs, you have woodcut signs. Oh my god, I just had to burp. You have neon signs even. So there's even one for neon signs. I don't know, I kind of like stuff like this, and I also didn't know that I did, so thank you, Julie, and thank you, Traditions, for giving me the opportunity to know that I kind of like this stuff. Alright, on to There's knitting in this podcast, I promise. On to some like garden updates, because I realized I showed a lot of footage of my garden in Olympia, but I didn't really remember to like talk about it very much. So I'm just checking the time here. Yeah, I gardened at a place called Capital Vision Community Garden, and I highly recommend joining a community garden. Best decision I ever made, and I'm bummed that I only thought to do that in the last year. But it was the best decision I ever made because I feel like it did something to my spirit, like helped me access a part of me that had been neglected for a long time. So I majored in environmental studies at UW back in 2011 to 2015, and I joined the program on the environment and took a particular interest in food studies, so like the food economy, urban agriculture, and accessibility. Yeah, so topics like that. And I for more than one reason, basically dropped out when I was 16, 1/6 credits short of graduating. And I had basically a nervous breakdown because of some life events that happened. And I had to take a year off and just focus on what was getting in the way, you know, why I was getting in the way of myself, and what I could do to like better understand what was going on, basically. And I forgot / repressed, truthfully, the fact that I had a passion for agriculture and for farming and for intergenerational education. I started a program, well, not a program, but I developed as my capstone project an environmental education sort of research project that was designed to encourage gardening accessibility for Seattle's youth. And I like would go to different pea patches. Well, I'm kind of like mixing a few things because I did some urban pollination research as well, where I would like manage data collection in different pea patches in Seattle. So that also happened in my like senior or junior year. But the youth education outreach program that I was sort of designing had to do with fostering like gardening activities with different like programs that kids were involved in, and like teaching them how to cook and stuff with chard that they harvested that day, or like how to use dill in a like a ranch dressing to go with the chard, and like, ooh, this tastes good, stuff like that. So yeah, I basically like repressed all of that because I was so embarrassed for having dropped out of college, and I just wanted to like forget that any of it even happened. So after a year, I went back to college and I moved to Olympia, and I finished my undergrad at Evergreen State College, where I got to design my sort of education path, and that took the form of botany and podcasting, like business. Okay, this is Evergreen, so that's why this is like, what the heck? I took a business class that was led by two professors. One had business experience and one had like media, podcasting experience, radio. Long story short, I graduated and just kind of felt like lost and not really in touch with myself. So after like 5 years, I and living in an apartment where we don't have a garden here. I'm on the 3rd floor too, so even more so, it's like I don't really have land to engage with here immediately. After like 5 years or whatever of living here, I thought to apply to a Capital Vision community garden and rent some plots. It started with 1, and then I was like, I need more. So I rented a 2nd plot, and I also volunteered to manage other plots, grow to share plots, and so I was involved at the garden quite a lot, and I just loved being able to have another place to exist that wasn't home and it wasn't work. And for those like 5 or whatever years after graduating and not having a college environment and just having my apartment and my job, I was just so depressed. Like, just work, home, that's it. If I was lucky, I could squeeze in a movie or a hobby or something, but I was just so stressed out. I was so sad. I was so... lots of things. But yeah, incorporating having a garden and a community to talk to and ask questions was just the best thing I could have done. And for anyone who is also living in an apartment or even a college dormitory and you don't have immediate access to a garden space, I really encourage you to look online. If your neighborhood or nearby neighborhoods have a community garden you can join. My camera's gonna stop in just a second here and then I'll be right back. Okay, sorry, I don't like that limit on it either, but that's the way it is. But yeah, if you're a college student, if you're an adult, any age, if you're in a condo and you want you want to have garden space, or your back porch is like poorly lit and everything dies out there, join a community garden. I looked back at Seattle's in the 5 or 6 years that I'd been living in Olympia, and I swear to God, they've got maybe like 5 times the amount of pea patches or urban gardens than they did when I left in 2015 or 16. It's incredible how many gardens there are now, and you know, some might charge you, some might not. I'm not really sure, but it's the best decision I ever made so far here in Olympia. What I grew there, I had a lot of fun, and I grew a variety of things. So I grew some tomatoes. I had an heirloom variety. I had cherry tomatoes. I had a dark, like, purple tomato. It honestly looked black, and then over time it would turn red or orange, like in the shaded parts. So like you could take off the little stem and you would see like almost like a silhouette. Like the areas that the sun hit were black, and then you would take it off and there would be like an orange or red like outline. What was I talking about? Tomatoes? Okay. And then I also grew Brussels sprouts. I grew red Russian kale. I have some chard that I planted kind of at a weird time, so they're like small right now, and I'm gonna move very soon. I grew cabbage in the summer because I really wanted to eat cabbage, but I want to try that again in the fall winter because I hear that the flavor profile for like colder climate timed cabbage is better. It's more like sweet and tender maybe. I grew zucchini. I grew pumpkins, like 2 varieties. I can't remember the name of one of them, but the other was like a basic like sugar pumpkin. I grew nasturtiums, I grew marigolds, I grew chamomile and Italian flat leaf parsley. I grew cosmos and string beans, shishito peppers, which aren't quite ready yet. I planted my peppers kind of late this year too. Jalapeno peppers, green bell peppers, garlic and onions, and watermelon. Yeah, it's been a really good learning experience this year, because I already have ideas for how I want to do it differently when we move to Port Townsend. I want to do a lot of, well, I'll get into that maybe later, because I feel like it's going to depend on what my space can allow, but I know that we are tasked with building out some gardens in the property that we're moving to, and I'm really excited about that, so more on that later. The place that I'm moving, or like the Olympic Peninsula where Port Townsend is, has a slightly different microclimate than Olympia does, and to prepare for that, I am reading, sort of like, not front to back, but I kind of want to, but I've been preparing by way of reading Vegetable by Vegetable. This is a book by Marco Colby and Hanako Myers, and they run Midori Farms in Quilcy, and it's a really nice resource book with these beautiful illustrations that give you a not too extensive breakdown of each type of vegetable that does well in on the peninsula. Port Townsend is a more temperate city, since it is closer to the ocean. Doesn't get as much snow in the winter as Olympia does. So just like slightly different gardening techniques, but oh so slight. So yeah, I'm preparing with that. Thank you, Colleen, for getting me that book to prepare myself for the move. And speaking of books, I've been reading. Have I been reading? I finished Clara Park's Vanishing Fleece. So this really speaks to my ADHD. Where is it? I found Vanishing Fleece at the library, which I'm really sad to be leaving here in Olympia, the Timberland Regional Library. Oh my god, it's like one of my favorite places, and I wish that I had found that library sooner. I just feel like I can really be my gayest self there, and that everybody is just like on their own little journeys, like looking into whatever makes them happy, and like the librarians are really like stoked to help you find whatever it is that, like whatever random thing, you know, you're trying to learn more about. Mine happens to be about wool and sheep and fiber and knitting and all that, and they're like, sweet, yeah, let's go over here. So anyway, I found this book at the library and started reading it, fell in love, and then stopped reading it. My pizza bookmark is still here. Stopped reading it because I couldn't read a book and knit at the same time. And then I was like, I love this book so much, I want to like highlight things in it, so I'm gonna get my own copy. I bought my own copy off of thrifted books, so now I have this, and I still have the one that I borrowed from the library that I keep forgetting to return, so I have a bunch of notifications in my email about overdue books. I have this hard copy that I haven't even touched because, again, I can't read a book and knit at the same time, and apparently has a pattern in there. So my third crack at it was to listen to this on audio book, so through Audible. that did it. That was perfect. That was exactly what I needed. And I finished the book from beginning to end because I started it over in 2 sittings. And I like sped it up too because I'm a little bit impatient, I think, when I listen to audiobooks. Like, I just feel like they speak like extra slow, which is good because then people who think that it's too fast have a way to slow it down, whereas if it's... Anyway, what I'm trying to say is I appreciate the option to be able to speed it up because I just take that in a bit better for some reason. So yeah, Vanishing Fleece. Oh, I should tell you what it's about. So this was more of a domestic exploration of the wool textile system economy here in the US. Clara Parks describes herself as like the only wool critic who writes about wool, and she purchased this, was it 5-ton bale? I can't remember what the amount was, but like a big bale of the finest merino wool produced in the US from a shepherd in New York named Eugene. And anyway, she broke the bale up into, I think, 4 parts and sent them to 4 different places to be turned into like a worsted yarn, a woolen yarn, and to be spun on a mule, like I think it's called a spinning mule. I could be wrong. And then also to be like hand dyed. And so the book just explores the different sort of excursions that each batch took, and her and Clara's interactions with the people behind the wool processing industry here in the US, and sort of the challenges they've been facing over the decades, and the passion and the emotion and the all of it behind that economy. So great read, highly recommend. I also found, because once that book finished, I was like, I want to get another one on Audible. This is just such a great mix. I like found a good mix for me, like to knit and listen to books. The next one I want to listen to is called Worn, W-O-R-N, by Sophie Thanhauser. And so I felt like I got my domestic US experience. I would like to know what the textile economy looks like beyond US borders and beyond just wool. And Worn covers exactly that. I haven't started it yet, but I purchased it with my credit. And it follows the, like, I think each, so she's looking at cotton, linen, silk, synthetics, and wool, and there's a story behind each one. So I'm excited to read that, or listen to that, and get more of like a global perspective too on both animal and like plant fiber journeys. And I feel like there was more I wanted to say on books. Let me consult the notes. No, I think that was it, which is great because I've got other things to share too. How are you guys doing? I feel like I've just been talking a lot, and I guess that's kind of what people do in a podcast. I hope you have a nice drink with you. I'm gonna take a sip here. Oh. Whew. I've been getting a lot of things done here in Olympia before I move that I can't really do once I move, and so some of that has been like updating a few like health things. One of them being I finally have been due for a new IUD, and I don't know how I managed to be able to talk about birth control not once but twice so far on this knitting podcast. But yeah, so I have the Marina and it's good for 7 years. So I got it back in 2015. Excellent choice. I have had 0 issues with it. No cramping, no period at all. And you forget that it's even there, no pain or anything like that. Which is really great for someone who can't seem to take medication consistently very easily. So I eliminated the need to have to remember to take a pill every day by just doing an IUD. And yeah, it's been great. Sorry, I'm gonna burp again. But yeah, it was kind of a scary experience. I don't know if you all want to hear about it, so I won't tell you about it. But yeah, it's kind of scary, but it's totally worth it. No problems at all. I am now rocking a 2022 model IUD, and I'm good for another 7 years, so that's taken care of. What else? Oh, some really great news. My sweetie got a new job, and I don't know if I'm supposed to. No, it's okay. He gave me permission to share with you. He's a junior web developer at a company in Port Townsend called, and I'm just so proud. So proud. For anyone who is in a situation, in a job, where you feel like you're unhappy and you want to work at a different job, but you're scared to leave it, or you know, you have some kind of feelings like reasons holding you back, and you're scared to take a risk on yourself and on your happiness. May my partner's experience be some kind of inspiration. I don't know, but basically my sweetie was a barista at a coffee shop that was unethically run. Basically, without giving away too many details, the owner was taking advantage of his employees by way of not giving them their legally required breaks, and it was just a horrible situation, a lot of drama and all that. But long story short, what was keeping him, I don't think I should be sharing this, so I might edit this out, but yeah, he sought work elsewhere with companies that had better opportunities for him too, and opportunities to grow and use skills that we're building for ourselves. You know, like, yes, I've been in the coffee industry for 10 years. Do I want to stay in the coffee industry? No, not necessarily, but it's work that I know and work that I feel confident in, but I want to be building my skills elsewhere. I would love to get into sustainable textile production, into knitwear design, into fashion design, sustainable fashion design. Who knows? I have a lot of artistic skills that I want to be utilizing more, and I would love to make more of a name for myself in that way. And so for my husband, he feels similarly, but in the tech industry, which is another type of industry that people can get into, but it takes a lot of self-direction and motivation, especially if you didn't go to school for computer engineering or coding or anything. But a lot of people can teach themselves what they need to know, and I almost want to say that that might be applicable in a lot of fields. Maybe not the most like specialized fields, but anyway, what I'm trying to say is I'm very proud of my sweetie for making the leap, for taking a chance on himself, for teaching himself what he wants to learn and be good at, and putting himself out there for other people to see what value he has to contribute to their missions and to their companies, and that it's more of a mutual fit kind of thing. Like, yes, we're employees and we have value to give to you, but also what value do you have to give to me if I'm giving you the prime of my life, you know? Is it gonna be well spent? Is it gonna be for someone I can say I respect? Is it gonna be a mutual beneficial relationship? And so I'm really glad that he put in the work and the vulnerability to find a good fit, because there were 2 other opportunities to take work, and we're not used to saying no. You know, we're not used to saying, being offered a job and then saying, you know, after the interview, it wasn't a great fit, and thank you for your time, but I am taking my skills elsewhere or something. But anyway, I feel like I'm digressing. Yeah, so very, very, very proud of him for getting a job that I know is gonna be a really great fit for him. He and I have also been talking about how computer engineering or coding in general is like very similar to knitting, because I will like drop a stitch that I had never dropped before. Like last night, for example, I dropped a I was on the wrong side of a knitted piece, and on the right side I had just done some increases, new increases to me, so like a left lifted increase, for example. A left lifted increase I had just done, and so when I was on the wrong side and it came time to just like purl across, I came to that left lifted increase and it fell off of my needle, and I was like, uh-oh. I have to reverse engineer this. Like, I know how to fix a dropped stockinette stitch. I know how to fix a dropped garter stitch. I was like, I don't know how to fix a dropped increase. Oh my god. I am not gonna drink carbonated things during a podcast anymore. So I'll spare you that. I'll spare you my burping next time. But yeah, anyway, I was just describing how fun it is to try to figure out, fun most of the time, how to figure out how to recreate something but from like a different perspective, how to recreate a stitch, and also like the frustration that you feel when you what was I talking about? The frustration that you feel when you, I guess I'm feeling some frustration right now. No, I totally remember what I was doing. Oh yeah, so say you like start a new pattern and you hit a wall and you get frustrated. You have to leave, sometimes literally physically leave the knitted piece alone for like an hour or even a day or whatever. You come back to it and you're like, oh, that totally makes sense, and you pick it back up, or you have to like start over completely. And we're finding that that's very similar with coding too, at least for him, as he's going through a few like debugging scenarios. If you hear some kitty meows, that is Zuki. She is right here. Say hi, Zuki. She's been keeping me company here. So, things to look forward to. Our cottage is secured in Port Townsend. We know where we're moving, and it's a 2-bedroom cottage that is renovated and gonna be ready for us to move into on Wednesday. I am insanely grateful for how this is all coming together, and I just feel very lucky to not only have a roof over my head, but to have a roof and dwelling that is very well suited to my artistic endeavors and goals for myself. The space includes a like small partial garage. Well, it's not a partial garage, it is a garage. But when I stepped into it, I remember just being so excited because I could just envision dyeing yarn and fabrics in that like semi-outdoor space easily, and even having enough space for a loom, which I have purposefully not let myself really like think about or look at online, because I'm pretty focused on knitting and spinning right now. Yeah, also I don't know if looms are a really good thing to keep outside, or not outside, but you know, like in a garage. Like, it doesn't sound great, but also I don't really picture there being a ton of room for one indoors. And if I got a loom, I probably would want to do larger pieces, but who knows. Anyway, I'm not supposed to spend much energy thinking about that because I've got a lot on my mind that needs my attention. Yeah, and so there's 2 bedrooms, there's a kitchen and a living space, there's a bathroom, and in my next episode you'll get to see what that looks like as we start settling in, and I am excited to find a lot of secondhand furniture or things that I might need, but I feel pretty okay with what I have already, so I'm excited about that. I did purchase some glassware and small things from New Traditions gift shop, and they're things that will make me feel like I'm moving with my Traditions family, so like I won't be alone. And speaking of, I'm gonna show you little Cindy. Ugh. This is little Cindy, Monstera cutting that my coworker Cindy had rooted for me weeks ago, and I am so excited to get her situated in her new home too. I love the idea of getting plants that your friends have grown, because when you take care of them and they live with you for years, sometimes it's like your friends have never left and they're kind of there with you all the time. So thank you, Cindy, for that. I also have a spider plant from Courtney, and hoping to get some jade cuttings from, jade cuttings from my friend Erica too. The glassware, I bought 2 like sort of goblets that are the same as my favorite wine glass that I would give out at the cafe when we would have like evening shows and people would get wine. I would always give out my first and only, there was different designs, but it was the only glass that was of that design, and I would give that one out first to whoever ordered a 5-ounce pour. And so now I have one of my own, so I'm happy about that. What else? I think we should get to the knitting. It's kind of insane that I've gone this long without talking about knitting, so I'm gonna do that. Yes, okay, so I do have some finished objects, and my favorite right now that I've been wearing and using is the Knitting Badge Neckerchief by Nicholas Knits. I used the leftover yarn from the Sport Rolling Bales by Carol Feller. This is literally all of it that was left, and I needed to incorporate this white stripe because I didn't have enough yarn. And this white stripe is a yarn that comprises 50% Shaniko wool, 25% mulberry silk, and 25 Belgian flax, and it's by Coastal Effects. It's by Elemental Effects, and I think the one's called Coastal. There it is. Maybe I should get out of the way. And I got this up at Bazaar Girls Yarn Shop in Port Townsend. I was gonna make a top out of it originally, but it's just kind of been sitting, so I figured I'd use some of that for this piece to get it finished. And I love how when you roll it like this and you put it around you, I love how the white stripe lines up so perfectly. Like you can just see it's like a little sailor situation. And then, as Nicholas suggested, I have a little ring that I use to keep it together. And yeah, this was just such a nice little quick knit that I could easily see myself making more of these in the future too. I just love how it lines up so perfectly. I don't know. Oh, and another funny thing was that I literally ran out, oh my gosh, literally ran out of the Nua Sport yellow color, to the point where I needed just like that much more yarn. So I spliced the Coastal white yarn to just be able to finish binding off. And I don't mind a little, like, you know, weirdness, but I've never used all of one yarn that way before. I was literally looking for little pieces like on the ground or like in my yarn stash to splice it together, and I think I had to do that like 4 times. But yeah, and it's so soft. If you don't remember, the Nua Sport was by Carol Feller, and I was gonna read you the description of what was in it, but I know there was yak wool and something else, but it's just so soft and lovely. The next finished object that I have is the I'm So Basic sock pattern by Summerly Designs, Summerly Design Co. And they're done! Da 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 da! And I love how they're, because I used the Zober ball that I talked about last time. So I love how they are absolutely sisters. They're not twins, you know? Like, they're the same sort of color palette-ish scheme situation, but they don't line up because it's one of those gorgeous Zober balls. And on the back they have the ribbed heel flap, and yeah, like look at that, look how the contrast just like lines up so perfectly. I also really like the blue up here that separates the yellow, and then on the toes the green has like a flat contrast with the yellow. This one was a little different, and it just had to do with the timing of it, but it's a softer sort of split. But I can model for you. Here, wait. This is what a knit podcaster does, or at least one like me. Oh, this is an ab workout. Okay, that's the best I can do. Yeah, and they're super comfortable too. I did the size medium, and they've just ignited my eagerness to knit socks for my friends and family for Christmas, so I'm excited about that. Oh yeah, some special thanks to Hannah, I hope I'm pronouncing your name correctly, Origami Flower, and Cinematic Skeins, and also Strange Bun for suggesting some alternative options, because I was curious about sock yarns or sock knitting strategies to be able to avoid synthetic fibers like nylon. And so I was told from you guys that Onion Knits does a blend of nettle and wool. It was like a 30% nettle, 70% wool that I'm really excited to look into and give that a try. And then also Cinematic Skeins had suggested trying 100% BFL, and then Strange Bun had suggested, and I'm saying Strange Bun, but I mean Kira from Instagram goes by Strange Bun. But yes, had suggested incorporating like silk and or mohair with my sock yarn, so I'm excited to give that a try too. Yeah, I love this like communal learning, you know, and if you had the same question, hopefully it inspires you to change it up with your fiber options and experiment. I love, anytime I think of that, I think of the scene from Juno where Ellen Page, now Elliot Page, sorry, I have such a crush. I think I've had a crush on Elliot Page forever. But yeah, what was I saying? I love the scene where Juno is like,
well, there's nothing like experimenting.
That's about it for my finished objects. I have some works in progress that I'm excited to talk about. The first being, I think I'm pronouncing this correctly, Mollus, the Mollus Sweater Blouse by Kadri. It's not a pattern that I would choose for myself because it's not for myself. I'm actually trying to replicate a sweater for my sister-in-law, Courtney. And the sweater that is her favorite right now came from a store, and so basically I have the sweater and I'm trying to, I found a pattern, the Mollus Sweater Blouse pattern, and it matches that store-bought sweater, so she was hoping to have one made for her in a sage green-ish color. And so I was up for the challenge and purchased the yarn yesterday, and I went with this Heatherstone wool alpaca blend. Maybe I can zoom in a little bit more. Oops. Oh, that's the right direction. Yeah, so it's this nice blend, and I swatched with it yesterday and have already started the pattern. Took several cracks at it, and had that computer engineering conversation with my partner about like troubleshooting and like fixing things. Anyway, yeah, I really like the pattern so far, and this kind of brought up a question that I have for you all. I have a tendency to get a pattern, well, first before I get the pattern, like on Ravelry, I'll see sort of the tags and like the skills sort of required to make sure that before I purchase it that I can actually do it. And so if I feel comfortable enough and I read the reviews, like, is it clearly written? Is it, you know, did you enjoy it? How easy or difficult is it? So once I feel like, okay, and I purchase the pattern, I get the PDF, I try to read through the whole thing and like visualize how it's gonna go, like top down, are we starting flat and then joining and then doing the body and the arms? And so I try to visualize it, but like I don't know what it is. I like really can't seem to be able to do that from start to finish. And I think it's just because of where I'm at as a knitter and as a beginning knitter. Like I don't maybe have the experience or the attention span to like commit to the mental image from start to finish, and that's, you know, it's a lot to figure out. But so oftentimes I'll just kind of jump into it way too blindly. And even like when it comes time to like purchase the yarn at the yarn shop, I'm like very like, oh, I like this color, oh, this would be cool with it, oh, but I like the feeling. And I just like, I will spend sometimes over an hour at a yarn shop thinking about one project, and sometimes one project turns into 2 projects. And I'll be like on my phone on Ravelry, and I'll have like a printed thing, and like I'll be talking to Lori at my local yarn shop and asking her questions like, if I swap out this yarn, like I don't want to use this cashmere, can I swap it out with this? And I'm figuring it out, but it feels really like haphazard sometimes. And like that also like translates to the way I organize things, like projects that I've finished, projects that I'm in the middle of. And so my question for you all is, what is your way? What is your knitting or crocheting organization system? Like, how do you go from point A to point C in picking your pattern? Oh, I don't know if you can hear that, but there is an SUV that has a flat tire and is slowly driving into a parking lot. I wish them well. Anyway, yeah, how do you go from point A to point C in your knitting process, from picking the pattern to finishing it and documenting what you need in between? I have a little notebook that I just started, and I should have started this sooner, of like my notes and everything and the math and everything. I really have to like visualize stuff, otherwise I struggle and like write things out. But I feel like I can only do it chunks at a time in a pattern. Like I can only do that for like this much. And then I'm like, oh my god, I just need to start knitting already. Like I just want to get my hands on the yarn. Like, and I feel like I'm slowly refining my process, and it's just taking time and experience with different projects. But yeah, I'm just curious to know what systems you all use, and if you have other tools that you're using like in conjunction with Ravelry, any apps or even physical notebook systems that you're using. I'm pretty like impatient, so like I don't, you know, the whole like bullet journaling kind of thing, or like putting, like being pretty with how you write things. I think those are super cool, and like I'm really like happy for the people that those kinds of experiences bring them joy. But in terms of the way that I work and like my eagerness to just like get to the yarn, I'm kind of scratching things down a bit faster, and maybe I just have to come up with my own system. But yeah, I feel like if there's anything that I don't know about in this regard, I would love to know if you had some aha moments in your knitting process. If you've had any aha moments in your knitting process refinement, I would love to know if you feel like you want to share. Yeah, I feel like kind of chaotic, which I feel like is a term that I hear in the knitting community too, so I bet I'm in good company when it comes to that. Yeah. Other works in progress, I still have the Coloring Book Tea by Amy Scher. The pattern has been great so far. The yarn has not. I have decided I don't like it. It's a Barocco Providence yarn. I have it right here. Zuki is using it as a pillow, so I feel bad for taking it away from her. So that is where I'm at with the Coloring Book Tea by Amy Sher, and that Barocco yarn was a 65% merino, 20% baby alpaca, and a 15% silk. So I don't know, I thought it would be nice, but like it's just, I don't like it. It's just it's scratchy, but it like grips onto itself almost in a way that like feels synthetic for some reason. So I don't know, lesson learned. I kind of would just wear it as a tee at this point. I was gonna make it into a like light sweater with long sleeves, but A, I ran out of yarn, and B, I just don't want to work with that yarn anymore. So I'm gonna finish the collar, maybe keep the shoulders, or not the shoulders, the sleeves raw, and they kind of curl up on their own, and like throw on a cute turtleneck under it for the winter months or fall months, and I think that would be cool, but it's not really a next to skin kind of piece for me. And if worse comes to worse, I could turn the fabric into something else. Zuki clearly loves it, so maybe it could become like a cat bed or something like that. Which would be like a nice little new thing for her at our new space. So that could be a fun option. The next work that I guess isn't necessarily in progress yet because I haven't cast on at all, but I picked the pattern yesterday and I bought the yarn yesterday because I'm feeding my stash. It's the origami pullover by, oh, and I hope I'm pronouncing your name correctly. It's by Lana Kjeldsen. Lana Kjeldsen. Maybe I did that right. I don't know. And you have to pick 3 colors for this. I mean, obviously you could pick more, but it's a pattern that incorporates 3 colors, and oh, I printed it on black and white, so it's not going to do it justice. I do want to show you what it actually looks like because it's beautiful. And projects. Oops. Also, I'm still learning how to use Ravelry too. Like, I've had a Ravelry account for a long time, but I just am more like analog for some reason. That the way that you can like record your projects, and then like add things to your queue, and you have a favorites, like, is kind of confusing to me still, admittedly. But I'm slowly figuring it out, and yeah, I feel like I've been putting things in the wrong place for a while, but I don't really care. I just want to get to the knitting, and yeah, but then it makes things like this hard where I'm trying to like find something that I'm talking about. Okay, here it is. This is the origami, and it is a pullover, oh goodness, sweater by Lona Kjeldsen. Ah, isn't it so beautiful? Are there other pictures? Oh yeah. Gorgeous. It's knit for a female body, but it's really unisex, as it said so itself. And I'm so excited. I really hope that I can pull this off. I think that I can. And I can't decide. I like the stripes on the bottom, but I cannot decide if I want the top portion to be this lovely blue, like the picture, or this lovely orange. And admittedly, if I do this orange, I will look pretty Halloween-ish, which I don't mind, but how does that look for the rest of the year? So like, it could look like this, or it could look like this. I'm kind of leaning more towards this, but I don't know. So I've got these together. I love these two colors and other like jewel tones and primary colors. I really enjoy those. Anyway, that's where that is. Yeah, I think that is mostly it. This has probably been my longest episode yet. On top of that, I'm gonna be including some footage of Olympia as an homage and thank you for the 6 beautiful years that I've been able to spend here and all the friends and places that I've grown so attached to. And hopefully it's some nice comforting footage and music for you to knit to or crochet to, craft to, eat to. I encourage us all to do what makes us happy right now. So enjoy that footage. Some things that are coming up on the horizon for me that I'm excited to share and talk more about are, of course, setting up my new space and my new studio and getting plugged into the Port Townsend community and finding other fiber artists there. But also, I'm really excited for the Pacific Northwest Fiber Expo that's coming up on October 1st and 2nd, which also happens to be my birthday weekend, so that's my gift to myself, as I will be at that festival. And it's in Port Angeles, I believe, so pretty accessible from Port Townsend. I've already registered for 2 workshops. So I'm really excited to tell you more about those. And yeah, the workshops that I signed up for is the urban, here I can read it so I get the words right. Urban fiber animals, Angora rabbits, sheep, and goats. And it's going to be taught by Heather Campbell. And the other class that I am registered for is called A Sample of Our Pacific Northwest Wools, taught by Laura Lee DeLuca. So I'm just so excited. And hopefully also I will have, oh, I didn't even talk about Shelob. So Shelob is my spinning wheel. She is a Ashford traditional, and I was able to deduce that she is from the 70s. She's a 70s gal. Yeah, and I purchased her from a family in Oregon who it came from a grandmother in their family who had passed away earlier this year, and her name was Sheila. And I just love that, like, I can honor Sheila and her passion for fiber arts by continuing to spin with her wheel and take good care of it. So I'm in the middle of refurbishing a 1970s Ashford traditional, and I am excited also because the Ashford company came from, or is originated in New Zealand, which is where they shot Lord of the Rings. I also just finished every year I watch the extended versions of the Lord of the Rings trilogy. And it just all timed out. Like, I just finished doing that this year, like a week or two, no, 2 weeks ago. And the wheel became available online at a very reasonable price that I was able to work it down to. And the owner's name was Sheila, which I changed the wheel's name to Shelob as the spider who, if you're not into Lord of the Rings, I'm really sorry. But I am. And anyway, I just think it's perfect because she spins fiber just like a spider spins a web, and everything is just so perfect about that. Yeah, so I ordered a Ashford refurbishing like kit that comes with the oil, replacement parts, Fortunately, I don't think I need to replace the leather band that connects the and I don't know the words for this, but the wooden part that goes like this, that the pedal, like, you know, I don't need to get a new leather piece for this area. And yeah, I just need to hydrate the wood, really get rid of some rust, and lubricate her up. So I am gonna do that once I'm more settled in my new place. Yeah, so all of that fun stuff to look forward to, and of course more and more knitting. I hope you all are doing really well, and thank you so much for being here. I really enjoy being part of this beautiful community of makers and talented artists who have a lot in common with me, and I feel less alone in my journey, and going down the rabbit hole that is just the best place to be right now. And it feels really great to be doing that alongside you. So thank you so much, and I will see you in my next episode. Bye-bye.
I wanna tell you why the silence here is perfect, and it makes me sick when you leave the room. You were a difficult child, always lost and dreaming. I wanna tell you why, but there's just no words. Drunk and young, death was far away, but we're more serious now. Things have lost their meaning.